Today's Acoustic Alternatives, once again brought to you by Grove Studios, the space that I've been doing the podcast in since, September of 2020. Is that when I started doing this? We've got Chain of Lakes, also known as Kyle Rasche, and he's going to be performing songs from the new album Catch. Kyle, welcome to Acoustic Alternatives.
Thanks, John.
I know that you get a lot of slack-ish stuff about your name because it's been mispronounced so many times. And humorously, I thought, if you'd become a dermatologist, you'd have been okay with the wrong pronunciation, I think.
I probably would have named the practice after some sort of mispronunciation, I'm sure.
But I can see how it could easily be pronounced because sometimes I find myself wanting to say it the wrong way, too.
It's not a phonetic last name, that's for sure. But and that was certainly part of the motivation to just call it a band name.
But is it really a band anymore? I mean, I don't know that you have a band.
Well, I do when the occasion presents itself that it would necessitate a band, It's definitely the name of the music I'm putting out.
Well, the new album is excellent. It is called Catch. Here's my autographed copy for you to browse. You can find, are you selling the CDs online or are they only at shows?
I'll probably figure out a way to do that. That first batch that I ordered was, I didn't really have enough to do that. I kind of stocked up for the foreseeable shows that were up there, but I'll probably put them on Bandcamp or through the website pretty soon here.
Okay, very well. We'll direct people there a couple of times throughout the interview, but
yeah, if anybody wants to if anybody wants a physical copy, they can email me through the chainoflakesongs.com.
Okay. Well, you have a guitar.
I do have a guitar.
And you have songs.
I have some songs.
And we're going to talk about the album. We're going to talk about your career. We're going to talk about lots of things, but how about a song first?
Let's do that.
What would you like to start with?
I'll start with the title track.
All right, here's a song from the album Catch, which is one of many that talks a bit about Kyle's family.
This is the title track to the first record, the title track to the last record. It's called Catch. Grandpa came to visit, don't think I was even 6 yet. He said, why aren't you outside with that brand new mitt I sent you? And I said, Grandpa, I'm so grateful you send anything at all. But that glove hardly holds a ball. And he laughed his ass off. He said, how could I forget? Can't just send a kid a mitt without a good old heart-to-heart about just how to break it in. Can't rush a glove to greatness. That's why I'm starting you right now. Go get it, I'll show you how. My granddad showed me how. You pound on the pocket with your fist, tap a mallet on the webbing, and rub in a little lanolin. Tie it up tight under your mattress, and you'll feel it breaking in once you're out. For crying out loud, playing catch with it. Those summers that he came felt like more than just a game. We'd spend all those hours outside just shagging flies and reacquainting. And I'd say, Grandpa, I'm so grateful we found all this time to talk. But come on, man, could you throw the ball? And he'd laugh his ass off. I grew out of that glove, but I kept it safe and sound. found. And now my own kid's growing up. So I found it and I pulled it out. Turns out she's a lefty. And I hear Grandpa laughing now as we break in her brand new mitt. Same way my grandpa did. Pound on the pocket with your fist. Tap a mallet on the webbing and rubbing a little lanolin. Tie it up tight under your mattress, but it's no use breaking in unless we're out for crying out loud, playing catch with it. Let's get out now for crying out loud. Let's play some catch, kid.
Chain of Lakes on Acoustic Alternatives. Kyle Rasche is here playing songs from the just-released new album, and that is the title track. It is called Catch. You can learn a lot about your family if these are autobiographical songs on the record. Songs about your daughter, your wife, your dad.
Yeah, it's true. I guess write what you know, right?
That's right.
There's a lot of parenting going on these days, so it definitely bleeds into the projects.
And if that's what your voice sounds like after 2.5 hours in a car and 10 minutes of like just milling around with me for a second, you sound great, just like right out of the car. Wow.
Thanks, John.
Wow. So good. I might even like that version better than what's on the record, but shh, don't tell anybody. It was just raw and honest and beautiful.
I hope it's better live, right? That's what everyone hopes.
Well, that's a good way to kind of get into let's learn a little bit about a younger Kyle. Is that a true story? Is that a story about you and your grandfather?
Yeah, there's some truth to it for sure. My dad's old man used to come, and he was not an athlete. He was a Kyle fan. He would do whatever I wanted. I remember him playing catch in the backyard. He'd have those like gold toe socks and a pair of shorts that probably his only shorts that he had for the last 50 years. And he'd go out and he'd play catch with me a little bit. But that song's a little bit about, it's a mix between who my grandpa was and the grandpa that I want to be. And then the bit about my daughter being left-handed and not being able to use my childhood glove is definitely true. But it was the neighbor kid that taught me how to break in a glove.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some truth in it for sure. And one of my buddies, Justin Stovepipe Stover, during the pandemic, we were just trying to get each other to write and try to hold each other accountable. And he put out a baseball prompt. And so my head initially, I was like frustrated with the prompt. I'm like, come on, man, I want to write some serious songs. And my head immediately went to like Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But then that one kind of landed on me, and I'm definitely grateful for it. It was one of those songs that came really quick.
And you're a baseball fan anyway, right?
I grew up a Tigers fan. I'll always say I'm a Tigers fan, but I will admit that I have not been paying attention for the last couple of years because I don't need any more. I don't need any more trying torment in my life. So I've not been paying attention to the Tigers, the current Tigers.
It's not worse than being a Lions fan. It's better, I think. There's at least something to look forward to.
I will always be a Lions fan. I'm waiting. My sister married into a big Cubs family. So I saw their elation when the Cubs finally won the World Series, and the whole time I was thinking, like, us Lions fans it's gonna be so good when the Lions finally win.
Fires and cars being turned over.
I'm waiting for it. I'm also a Spartan fan, so I know how to light couches on fire. I know how to do the whole East Lansing riot deal. I actually have never participated in the riots, but I did get tear gassed once while walking to 7-Eleven to get a case of beer. I was like, why do my eyes hurt so bad? And then lo and behold, it was the wind from down the street where people were getting tear gas for burning couches. And the funny part was that we won.
Yeah?
That was how the Spartans responded to us winning. So
great.
I'm glad we didn't lose. The whole place would have gone up in flames.
So you don't come from the west side of the state. That's not where you're from.
I was born in Redford. I was born in Southfield at Providence Hospital, the old Providence Hospital, and my parents lived in Redford. And then we moved to Novi when I was in like kindergarten, and then when I was in elementary school, we moved to Mid-Michigan, I graduated from Okemos High School, went to Michigan State where I met my wife, and
Okay.
then we moved back to Detroit promptly after school, spent a couple years up on Mackinac Island, and then she got into grad school at Wayne, so we lived here for 5 or 6 years, and then we moved. She's from West Michigan, so we moved back there in 2010, right before my first Chain of Lakes record came out.
So you've been part of both sides of the mitten. What side do you like better?
I think the West Side likes me a lot better as far as the music is concerned. I definitely found a group of friends, and the singer-songwriter scene over there seems a lot more. It was just easy. Maybe it was just where I was in my life when I moved over there that I was able to assimilate a little bit easier. But
Okay.
I found the response to my music much more welcoming there. I had a rough go of trying to get my music heard when I was in Detroit. I was living like Ferndale, Oak Park area, and I have some stories about getting, people cutting me short at open mics and stuff. And,
Wow.
I was trying to do it at, maybe just the wrong spot. But I had very good friends and some good experiences over here too. And since I've moved to West Michigan, I've fallen in, as you know, with like the Trinity House folks and stuff, and the folks at Wildseas up in Clarkston, and that have been absolutely outstanding to me. So it's been a lot. It's really fun to kind of come back here now and get to play some of those venues that I was begging to get in while I lived here. I'm playing the Arc tonight for the first time. That's a big deal for any Michigan songwriter
Absolutely.
to kind of grace those hallowed grounds. So yeah, it's coming together. I really can't say I like one better than the other, but I think the move to West Michigan was very good for me at the time, and it's kind of expanded to the east side too now, so it's kind of nice to get back.
When you were a kid, what did you like to do before music came to be your focus?
I played so much soccer when I was growing up. I mean, all the time. I look back on what I put my parents through as far as driving me down to Kentucky for tournaments every weekend, and then, the better you get and the better teams you get on. I can't imagine what it's like now, because I know that the kids nowadays are having to pick that one sport when they're like 7. I mean, I have coaches coming up to me now because my daughter scores a couple goals in her AYSO soccer team, and I'm like, no. When I was growing up, the ball we threw or kicked changed with the seasons, and I thought that was very healthy. And nowadays they're just asking these kids to dive in and be a professional
All year.
It's crazy
Yeah.
what they ask these kids to do. But yeah, I did a lot of soccer, and honestly, choir was very formative for me as far as the musical realm. I had, in the Okemos school systems, I had like 2 legendary choir directors that, of course, we didn't know that they were legendary until we left and realized, and I had college professors that were like, just paled in comparison to these wonderful directors. And then I got to study under John Reed at Michigan State while he was kind of coming into his own and going to ACDA Nationals, which is American Choral Directors Association. I got to be in like his show choir. It was just like, I just got so lucky with the exposure to my choral music education. And it was all just by circumstance of where I lived.
This is not meant to be anything other than an observation, but you don't strike me as a choral guy. The way you sing doesn't necessarily, I can't tell, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I've always had a good ear for the harmonies, and that's my best instrument. If I'm sitting in with another band, it's singing. I'm not a great guitar player. I would never insult guitar players by saying I'm a good guitar player. I can screw around on the piano and I can accompany myself, but vocally, I've always been very drawn to those vocal groups too. Simon and Garfunkel, Crosby, Stills and Nash. My dad had a lot of those tapes growing up that I was always super drawn. Even like the James Taylor records where he had the choir, the Let Us Turn Our Thoughts Today to Martin, that what's that called? Shed a Little Light. I mean, I was always infatuated with those songs. So, and my voice never changed. So as in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, as the boys all started to have their voices changed, I think I became more valuable to the director because I was still a first tenor all the way through college.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I was desperate for my voice to change. I wanted all the girls to know that I was going through puberty too, and it just didn't happen until I was well into college.
Do they know now?
I have a couple kids that are proof, but luckily I found a woman that was not attracted to me for any big baritone, that's for sure.
Okay. Are your kids anything like you, a young you?
That's a good question.
I guess I've never really thought about that. They love me.
Well, who doesn't?
You know, it's kind of my line when I talk to my friends and stuff that are entering that parent stage. Is I feel like you have a pretty good idea of how much you're gonna love your kids just based on how much if you want kids or you know your relationship with your parents, but nothing will really compare you or prepare you for how much they love you. And so I definitely feel that you know they're into what I'm into because I'm into it, and but I'm definitely very committed to making sure that they're allowed to be into whatever they want to be into, and making sure that I'm into that too. But yeah, they love making up songs and. My little Annie is a really, really, really good athlete, and Kate will be too as soon as she decides that she cares what the score is and what goal she's going towards because she's very able. You know, as soon as she has it, like any drive to get the job done, she's there, and Annie's very focused, so she's been very successful in sports. My little Eve is a phenomenal artist. She's my little lefty. She's my oldest, and she just loves to paint and color and. She gets these crafts going, and she's very task-oriented when it comes to that. She's a lot like my mom. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're exactly like me, but that's probably a good thing.
Are they interested in music the way you are?
Yeah, for sure. They love music. They love my music. I mean, I'm very cognizant about including them in my process. You know, like our bedtime songs. Like my kids will ask me what song I'm working on, and they want to hear it. And Eve will have a page of notes and suggestions, you know. So
everyone's a critic, even your kid.
You bet. Yeah, and I grew up in a house that had kind of precious instruments. You know, my old man's guitar was kind of off limits when I was really young. The piano was not to be banged around on it. You know, we took lessons, and there was a right way to play it. And Amanda, my wife, and I were very careful to have a house that. You know, I have a little Yamaha 3/4 guitar that I play 95% of the time because it's out, but I want my kids to explore it. And, you know, it's not a sacred instrument. Like, they know how to take care of my nice guitars and stuff like that, but there's definitely, they can explore on that stuff. They can bang on that piano and put tape on it, and so you remember your song. Like, do what you got to do. So, you know, we got a Craigslist Baldwin that they can beat up on a little bit and just, I don't know, explore that space, you know. I mean, I kind of remember being told like, hey, you know, we're trying to watch TV in here when I would at the end of my piano lesson practice, when I'd start banging around and just trying to explore the instrument a little bit, like, and feeling like that exploration was annoying. My wife and I were really careful to not let whatever sounds they're creating and exploring on those instruments come off as anything other than awesome. Go do it, have fun with it. They have their own ukuleles that I put in like open tuning, so it sounds okay when they pick them up. And yeah, they like to explore that kind of stuff. And it's neat to see that they're growing up in this environment where like making up songs is totally normal. Like you want to make a song, do it. Make it up. What do you got? You know.
Nice.
So and they're starting to. You know, we make songs when we're weeding the gardens and, you know, just about everything. I have a kids record on deck, actually, that's pretty much written. That's my buddy Josh and I, who produced this record. He has little ones as well, and we're like, we have so many songs that we're just playing around with at home that we didn't start out to make a record per se, but we just realized that between the stuff that we're all singing at bath time and our little wash your hands song that we've always been singing with my kids forever, like we could record that song. Like, let's do it. Someone might find some value in that, and you know, it'd be fun. We just both like working on music too, so that's kind of on deck, and my kids 100% informed all of those songs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
At what point did young Kyle pick up guitar? Because he was already singing, apparently.
I was singing in choir, and I remember vividly like closing my eyes and pretending I was Elton John in the back of the van on our car trips. And I loved the piano. And I mean, my dad had these old Croce records and James Taylor and Cat Stevens. My first concert was Gordon Lightfoot. So nice. I mean, the music that I've kind of gravitated back to in adulthood was totally the formative stuff that I was listening to in my dad's car. Mm-hmm. So I picked up guitar one summer in between 7th and 8th grade. My dad had an old bright green Telecaster under the bed in the guest room, that I mean, and to be completely fair, John, I was not a kid that was to be trusted with nice things. I didn't like when I say that like my parents, didn't encourage me to go and touch the instruments. Like I was not the kind of kid that deserved that sort of trust. I was a rowdy kid. I mean, I was definitely more of a soccer player than a musician for sure.
Okay.
But I remember pulling that Stratocaster out because it looked cool and being like right away being sick of the amp and the chords and all that kind of stuff. So he had this old Alvarez too, a Yari Alvarez. He still has it. It's one of my favorite guitars in the whole world. And while he was at work, I found a fake book of Dan Fogelberg, and I learned how to play There's a Place in the World for a Gambler, which is just a C, G, or CFG. And, to his credit, I mean, I played that thing one summer for like 10 hours a day. Like I was, as soon as I could do something that I liked to hear, I was off and gone. And when you learn those 3 chords, you got a foundation to write every other pop or folk song in the world. So I started spending a ton of time, and then my friends would come over and I'd make up parody songs to make them laugh and that kind of stuff. And by the time my dad caught me playing his guitar, I had spent so much time with it. I mean, it couldn't have been more than like 3 or 4 weeks, but like I said, I was going 8-10 hours a day with it. So I mean, I was playing like he could play. When he caught me, and to his credit, that next Christmas, I got a Fernandez little Telecaster copy, and he let me play. He put me in lessons with John Campbell in Lansing, who's a legendary player. He has a band called the Peppermints, and that was that. I took a couple summers of guitar lessons and just started making up my own stuff.
He probably said, "You're a pretty good kid. Don't touch my guitar. Here's your own."
Yeah, right. Well, he was just so cool about it, and
Yeah.
I think it, it's something that he was always interested in too. My dad was a drummer growing up, and then he switched to guitar. He actually lived with Terry Burkett, who's a mutual friend of ours, and Terry's an unbelievable guitar player. So I think my dad was like, "Oh, I want to play guitar too." So that old Yari Alvarez was Terry's, and my dad still has it. It's such a beautiful instrument. And so, yeah, that's, we still play together. We would do our music weekends up north on the Chain of Lakes, which is what I named my band after. My family's had property up there forever. And, we still play music together.
I'm glad you picked up a guitar back then. I would like you to do it again right now.
Yeah.
What would you like to play next from Catch?
I'll play Brave Marie.
All right. This song, I got to tell you, I mean, it's so catchy. It's an earworm for me.
Yeah.
It's a science lesson for kids. And I want to know how you came to write it. Were you helping one of your kids with a class project or something?
We have these books for them that we read before bed called Bedtime Stories for Rebel Girls. These Rebel Girls books is like a series, and it highlights all these fantastic, very influential women throughout history. And one of them is Marie Curie. And I've worked in radiology for day jobs and such, so I've always seen that very deformed first X-ray ever taken of her hand, probably with very. She died of gross overexposure to radiation, obviously. But this picture of her hand is not healthy. She must have already had a very progressed disease state when she took that. But so I remember seeing her before, and so I already had kind of an interest in that, and just what she went through as a female. She was born in. She was born in Warsaw when girls weren't even allowed to go to college. She ended up getting a scholarship to Paris, where she basically, I think she became the first female professor at the University of Paris, and just discovered and taught everybody about radiation, which has obviously revolutionized medicine as we know it today. So she was a very influential woman. So this is just screwing around on a guitar after reading with the kids, and I was like, oh man, I think I had that first verse, and I was like, I think I could finish this up. And I mean, this is another one that just came super quick that night. But it ended up getting me down to Kerrville, Texas for in a songwriting competition, and that kind of elevated my career, and we got a lot more people listening to my music. So I'm grateful to this song for sure. And it's called Brave Marie.
Brave Marie, broke every barrier she ever did see and etched one heck of a legacy. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Born in the late 1860s, Warsaw had never saw anything like a girl this smart, so bold, so free. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Only 10 when her mother succumbed to TB. Wouldn't be her last brush with tragedy. She took after Dad academically. Mighty, mighty smart Marie. Government said college boys only, so she found a secret flying university. Put her sister through school, made her money tutoring. Mighty generous Marie. Brave Marie, broke every barrier she ever did see. Armed only with her wits, she stormed Perry. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Dead broke, living on toast and tea. Masters of physics by 93. And the next year she followed with a math degree. Head of the class, Marie. In 95 met physicist Pierre Curie. Finally found a fun kind of chemistry. Wasn't one short year before the wedding, man and Marie Curie. Oh, they made elemental discovery, named polonium after her home country. Isolated radium by 1903, the all-star team Curie. Brave Marie, broke every barrier she ever did see and taught radioactivity. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. In '06, Pierre, he died tragically, left behind a widow on a pile of grief. She took on his job, the first lady, Professor Madame Curie. You know she didn't even want it when they told her she had won the Nobel for physics. She was the one and only woman, and it wouldn't even be the last one for brave Marie. 'Cause in 1911, more history. Second Nobel, now she's still the only one to be awarded in physics, then again in chemistry. Mighty groundbreaking Marie. Brave Marie, broke every barrier she ever did see. Didn't want a bit of credit, just a whole lot of peace. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Then war took over 1914. She kept her head down, working radiology, and made the world's first field X-ray machine. Mighty heroic indeed. But then all her hard work found a cold hard link between radiation and her blood disease. Took her down quick, left the world to grieve. The late great brave Marie. You could spend years counting all she achieved. Showed the world a woman's got a mind to speak. Gave all her daughters a real chance to dream, like the late great brave Marie. Brave Marie, broke every barrier she ever did see and etched one heck of a legacy. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Mighty, mighty brave Marie. Mighty, mighty Madame Curie.
Brilliant. I got to tell you, that's an earworm too. I got that stuck in my head for the last week or two. Just it's a good thing because it's a really catchy song.
Thank you.
And it has, I mean, there's things to learn from it. It's a very useful song.
Yeah.
Your kids could use it at school and say, "Look, I wrote this for my dad."
My niece Maria did a project. They had to pick like a character through history, and by circumstance, she got Marie Curie. So I sent it down to her. I'm not sure she used it in the project, but maybe she quoted me as a source in her works cited page. not that I proclaim any expert knowledge, but.
So that was was it a winner at Caraville at one year?
No,
just a submission.
In 2021, I was a finalist, which is. They picked out of 700-800 people or whatever. They narrow it down to 24, and you get to go and perform the show, and then they pick 6 winners from there. And the festival got canceled, so everything was virtual that year. So I got to play that and catch. Those are my 2 submissions the first time, but it was really cool to be a finalist. And I tell you that the level of talent and just the quality of writers that you're immediately associated with, and you get to obviously meet, and it was just unreal. I mean, I still have so many good friends and stuff that I've made through that experience.
I'd like to hear what won, because if that didn't win, that must be a really damn good song that won.
There were 6 winners that won that year, and I mean, you should really go back and listen to them, because all of them. I mean, I don't know how the judges pick. I mean, I just got back from Kerrville last week because I was a finalist again this year.
You're jumping ahead on me, but that's okay.
I mean, when you're sitting there listening to all these people go up and play, I don't know. I don't envy the judges at all. And it's obviously subjective, right? Sure. I mean, we all have our own. I mean, I turn my favorite songs off sometimes because I'm not in the mood. So it all comes down to who's judging and everything else.
And where you're at that day.
Yeah. I'm actually grateful that I didn't win, because it gave me you can't submit again after you're a winner. Oh. So I was able to submit again this year, which I didn't think I had the songs that I had last year, but I got to go back and actually go to the festival, and it was both weekends down there were 1 and 2 best weekends as a songwriter I've ever had.
Oh, cool.
So
we'll have you play that winning song in a bit. We're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm grateful that I didn't win, because it afforded me the experience to actually get down there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit of your day job is science related. What is your day job, and what would it take for you to quit your day job to do music full time? Like, what level do you need to get to?
I mean, it's financial. I have responsibilities at home and I want to be home for my kids right now. And I think if I could get a writing job where I could still get to the games and the choir concerts and help her out around the house, it would have to be something along those lines. But I'm pretty committed to, the life that my wife and I have built at home right now. I have a job I program a medical device that gets implanted. It's called neuromodulation, which is basically using electricity to modulate nerves on a local level, as opposed to like flooding the bloodstream with indiscriminate medication. So there's a surgical element to it, and then obviously we program these devices to be effective to kind of restore normative function, to target nerve groups, and these patients that are implanted need to be met and reprogrammed and such. And that's what I do. My team and I meet them where they need to be met. So. And
they have no idea you're a brilliant musician.
They do not. They do not.
That's okay.
I used to do surgical neurophysiology, and when I was living in Detroit, I was an intraoperative neurophysiologist, where we would go in during like neurosurgeries that could potentially compromise the nervous system, and monitor them to alert the surgeon if there were any kind of like ischemic changes, or he was bumping the wrong nerve physically, and that was when I was playing a ton too. So I really didn't want people to know that I had both jobs at that time, because I was in the OR at 7:30 in the morning, and I was loading out at 3 often, So those were the good old days.
Yeah.
I have a little bit more of an adult schedule these days, for sure. I'm grateful for that.
What if, say, I'm going to use Indigo Girls as an example, because to me, Simon & Garfunkel was part of my youth, and Indigo Girls is what relit the fire for modern folk for me.
Yeah.
What if they said, come on tour with us? Would you be like, yeah, I'll quit my day job for that?
Probably not.
Still rather have a home job and
a tour probably would not be, maybe in 10 years when my girls are in high school.
Fair
or
enough.
They're getting ready to leave. But I don't. Yeah, the performing element of music has always been very, very fun for me. I mean, you have to be dead to be able to stand in front of the Kerrville Folk Festival and not enjoy having, 1,000 eyes on you listening to your song and giving you great feedback, or obviously playing places like the Arc or the Listening Room in Grand Rapids. Like, I absolutely love that. And maybe if there was something set up where I could string together 3 weeks and come home and just be home afterwards, because that 3 weeks generated the kind of, to be able to support the family. But I don't, touring right now is just
not on your list.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? If the
right offer came along.
If the Indigo Girls are listening, please do not withhold any offers. I would be happy to entertain that opportunity.
Emily, are you listening? Emily and Amy.
Yeah. If the Indigo Girls called and wanted to cut 4 of my songs and on their record, I would be much more inclined. That's the job I want.
Yeah, same background on them.
If I could get to a place, if Sesame Street called and needed me to curate songs for a new show or something like that would be more of the job that I would be drawn to.
So you're more of a songwriter than a singer.
I like to sing, and right now I sing my own songs because nobody else will. But I'm, the pandemic really shined a light on. It took everything else away.
Yeah.
For the first time, there wasn't the promotion. What were you going to promote? No one was booking. There wasn't the supporting the last record because no one was booking. The job was to make songs, and it is the only part that I'm just truly passionate about and that I absolutely love. Like, I'm obsessed with making new songs. I love, 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 love it. And if I could find a way to have that be the job, I would be absolutely tickled pink. I just met a songwriter named Jason Erie, who was a fellow finalist with me down in Texas. He was camping right next to me. And he has a publishing deal down in Nashville. And he has to turn in 15 songs a month. And he performs because he likes it, but his job is to make songs. And I'm not sure that the Nashville machine would be as receptive to the kind of songs that I make, but something like that where I got to make songs for a living and play when I wanted to, that would be awesome. And obviously beggars can't be choosers. So, but really just the creation and making the songs is the draw for me. That's my favorite part by far.
You've been putting out albums since about 2010. Do you typically have more songs than you put on a record? I know for this one you did because I read that.
Yeah. Until the last probably 5 years, I didn't do a very good job of like finishing songs that I wasn't into. Okay. So I would start 150 songs and finish the 10 I was putting on my album. You know what I mean? And then right around 2000, I would say 18, 19. I can tell you, it was 2019 after I went to Farm the first time. I play in a band called Josh Rose and the Founding Fathers, and Josh and I play as a duo where I sing harmonies and just play guitar with him. And he went up to Farm, and Farm is a Folk Alliance branch for the Midwest region. Folk Alliance Region Midwest is what it stands for. And it's a place where folk DJs come together with venue owners and show curators and obviously songwriters and performers. And it's a convention to meet each other and set up your year and network. And they just celebrate songs, the folk song. Like, there's a whole group of people that are just obsessed with songwriting. And I had never met a community like that before. And it was, I was 38 at the time. I was almost embarrassed to be finding that at that time and that late in my life, but it changed everything for me. It's when I kind of ditched the band and I went home and I was like, I have a community of people now that just care about songs. And Andy Baker, who is an outstanding songwriter, he lives in Gobles, Michigan. He invited me to be in one of his songwriting groups, which was just like a monthly deal online, and that's how I met Dan Bracken and Dave Boutet and Annie Capps and Jan Christ, and Nicholas James Thomasman was already a good friend of mine, but he's in that group too, and it was just the network that I met through that group and sharing these songs every month. You get a prompt and you got to put a song up at the end of the month with a video of you playing it, and so that was the first time where I was like, I finish everything. Cool. And it was a lesson for me in, you might have the song that you're not that gung-ho about. You have a good verse and a decent chorus, but it's not really cutting it for you. But when you have to finish and turn it in, that chorus might be an amazing bridge, and then you write a better chorus, and next thing you know, it's on your album. And the only reason that you found that is because I finished it. And it really changed my work ethic around songwriting. I think that I personally, I can only speak from my own experience, but I think I get better at songwriting when I don't want to write, and I make myself go out to work. Really? And I make myself do that all the time now. And it's that way when the inspiration does strike, you just have these muscles built up to channel it into more of a pure expression, I guess. But I've really changed my focus from sitting around waiting for that song to hit me to making those songs. You know, taking those jokes that you have with the kids and finish it, have it be a song. So. Yeah. Now, for the first time, I mean, I have 200 songs sitting around. I just and when I went in to make this record, I went in and cut 30-some demos for Josh, and he picked the 11, and he produced the record. And it's helped me kind of pull back a little bit from self-producing everything. I mean, all the records that I made before, it was like me and an engineer or a studio owner in the studio, and I was making all the decisions. I was picking who was going to come in and play and what they were going to play, and I'm not a producer. I mean, we talked about it a little bit off air, but I don't even care about audio quality all that much. Like, I don't have that great stereo at home that a lot of people have that are audiophiles that really are interested in that element of music. For me, it's as good as the song. So this new approach and having a stockpile of songs that I'm proud of has just made each of them less sacred, I think. So I didn't feel like there was any like risk of like wasting that great song. Like I let him do what he wanted with the tunes, and I have more. I am the manufacturing facility.
Cool.
I made that one. I can make another one, and it's really helped me. Just kind of get out of my own way by not wearing so many hats. I'm the songwriter. For the first time, I was talking about this the other day with one of my friends. When people ask, oh, are you a musician? Yep. What do you play? I say I write the songs. I don't say I play guitar or piano because I don't. I mean, that would be insulting to someone who's studied piano or guitar, and I can accompany myself, but I'm a songwriter. That's what I bring to every band I've ever been in. I'm not interested in being in a band if I'm not the worst musician in the band. The band's not good enough. I don't want to make mediocre music. I'm very comfortable surrounding myself with amazing players, and I've been super fortunate to have many willing to help me celebrate these songs. But yeah, it's just all about the writing, and that's been a comfortable place to be these last couple of years.
Well, it sounded like initially you were just like randomly writing songs all the time with your kids, and then you also just indicated that a songwriting prompt really helps you. I guess that helps you finish the song. You start a lot of songs that you don't finish. So
there's an accountability to those groups
that
I really like, and I've started my own group since then, called the Song Hall. So I mean, I'm writing at least 2 songs a month now. That's not all I write. My group is a little less stringent than the Songsmiths, the one that Andy Baker curates, because you have to write to that prompt. He wants that prompt in the song. My group is, we put a prompt up, and if you need the prompt, by all means, please. But if you're writing something else, the goal of the group is to have you writing and to get some feedback for some other talented writers that you respect. It's very secret. The rule is that you got to put a song up, and it can't, you don't share it, because a lot of times it's, you're not putting up your best stuff, that's where the work comes in. Mm-hmm. And that's liberating too, to let people hear something that, maybe you wouldn't put on a record. Maybe this is kind of shit. I'm not super proud of this one, but here we go. I finished it, and I've had songs that I thought were just garbage that people come back and be like, dude, don't sleep on that one. I like that. I like that part too. And just getting that feedback from someone you respect is like, oh, really? You can hear it a different way, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I will flesh that one out a little bit. And so it's become a community thing too, which has been cool. But yeah, those groups have been a neat way to not only, and songwriting is such a vulnerable art form to begin with. So to find a sacred space to share it's just been a cool way to meet other writers too.
Tell me about the song that you were just honored for at the Kerrville.
Well, Kerrville is interesting because this was the 50th year of the Kerrville Folk Festival, and this organization within the festival is called New Folk, where it's a contest for emerging songwriters, and you have to submit 2 songs, which is important for me. I'm not a big contest guy. I live in Grand Rapids where they have art prize, and I've always been like, really? We're gonna reward art. Like, how do you judge it? And a lot of it is popular opinion, which I'm not super into those songwriting groups where, some of them, if you pass that first level, all of a sudden it's like, how many friends can you get to vote for you? And I'm not really interested in those ones. But Kerrville is interesting because you submit 2 songs. You have to have written them in the last 18 months. And I think just the fact that they have to be new, and there's 2 of them. It's a songwriter competition as opposed to a song competition. It's not, don't submit your greatest hit that you've gotten overproduced by some Nashville guy. It's, we want to hear what you're making now. So that was the reason that I first subscribed to that competition. And it's basically you don't even submit a lyric sheet. You don't submit your tour schedule. You don't submit your one sheet. They don't care how reputable you are or anything else. If you got a good song, it's going to get listened to and put up against some other very, very good songs. So this year I put in a song that I wrote the day my dog died, which is a little bit of a heartstring tugger.
I've had pets, I know.
Yeah, and then I put another song, and it was one of the last ones I wrote for this latest album called Honest that Josh Kaufman, my producer, heard and insisted was going to go on here on the album too. So it was kind of a rush job to get on the album. So those were the 2 that got chosen this year.
But one of them is actually...
No, they both.
They both won.
So the writer gets rewarded for with the judges. We had a big show at this theater called the Threadgill Theater right on property at the Quiet Valley Ranch down in Kerrville, and all of us, there were 2 days of shows where you went and you had to play your 2 songs for everybody. It was a weird show, man. If you told me that, I actually said it on stage, if you would have told me that I was going to go and play my own songs at the Kerrville Folk Festival and then I'd be opening with a Dead Dog song. You don't get to pick your set.
No.
You got to go down, you got to play what got you there. So, but it was the audience down there was the most loving, welcoming, attentive. And, we have those rooms here, too. We have the Trinity House in Livonia. We have the Listening Room. We have the Arc. I heard 20 Front Street's kind of like that. Yep. Wiltse's was like that. I love listening room environments. But sometimes those kind of exude an aura of like, all right, you have our attention. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of there's an intimidation to it that I like. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that kind of pressure, too. And it's always a respectful attention. But at Kerrville, it was like all 1,000 people were your grandparents that were just so proud of you for being there, and they couldn't wait to get blown away by your song. It was just, it's really difficult to explain, but I mean, there were thousands of people on that ranch, and all of them were just obsessed with the art form that I'm obsessed with.
Those are your people.
Their line is, "Welcome home." When you get there, everyone gets a big hug, "Welcome home," and it's kind of like the Happy Wheatland of Kerrville is "Welcome home," and it certainly felt that way for people that do what I do.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Do you want to sing about your dog?
You want me to sing about my dog?
Can you?
You have Kleenex?
They're in the other room.
Dog lovers. All right, yeah. This my dog. His name was Dude the dog, and he was not a good dog. He was a very nice dog. The nicest dog, actually. Everyone loved this dog. He had a way with people that didn't like dogs. He was just, everyone knew him and loved him. But boy, he was not a great listener, that's for sure. But yeah, I lost him in August of 2020, and it was right middle of the shutdown too. It was kind of heartbreaking. I was finally home. I had to be home all the time. Everyone was home, and he got sick. It was pretty quick, thankfully. But yeah, this is the song for Dude. It's called Good Dude. Hey dude, we had a run. You were just a runt. We couldn't find a crate you wouldn't break, so we gave up. Scrapped our plans for how to keep you. None of them lasted a week. You snuck up to our bed, and for 11 years that's where you'd sleep too, always by my side. Yeah, we'd walk the neighborhood each night, and I just loved having the dog. All the neighbors recognized. They'd yell, "Good dude, good dude." Name meant as a joke became the name you grew into. Good dude. Oh, you'd never defecate in the place we designate. The Brandenburgs deserve awards for the shit that they forgave you for.
I remember working hard, training you in our side yard. You'd understand each damn command that you'd stare and blatantly discard. Well, man, you had a motor. Oh, I'd get tired just standing and throwing while you'd sprint yard to yard and back so fast and beg, keep going. Such a good dude, good dude. Pain in my neck, but man, my heart was fond of you. Good dude. And you were 6 when we had kids, and you loved them like we did. But I know you took the brunt when we brought home those brand new twins. You fell way down my list, man, and I truly regret that. You took it on the chin. It's just what living in our pack meant. And they'd poke your eyes and pull your tail and close barrettes on your hair. You just took it like a champ, and brother, I thank you now for that. You're such a good dude, good dude. You paid us back and all those bags of trash you got into. Good dude. Then you got old before my eyes, and I felt your heart grow tired of trying. You laid your head upon my leg, and that's how we said our last goodbyes. And I swear I stayed right by your side. We'll see you on down the line, and I can't say this enough, but the privilege was mine. Such a good dude, good dude. Saw me at my worst and still gave all the best to you. Good dude, good dude. Easy dog to love, but man, you're a damn hard dog to lose. Good dude.
Nice.
The Dude song.
The Dude song. Kyle Rasche is here for the promotion of the newest album, Catch, which that is not on, but it was an award-winning song. And he's here at Acoustic Alternatives at Grove Studios in Ypsilanti. We're chatting about the new record. Thank you for being here with us. And Kyle, thank you for opening up your life and your stories and your songs with me and pretty much everybody when you sing.
It's good to be here, man.
Do you find yourself, does it feel awkward sometimes to share such intimate stories about your life? I mean, the other songs are pretty honest song too. Honest,
Yeah,
no pun intended. But.
It can be awkward a little bit, you know. That was one of the things, one of the big shifts when I started writing a lot more in 2018-19 was just making just truthful, just write, you know, instead of writing the songs that make me cool, write the songs that make me Kyle, you know. What I know about. You know, I spent a lot of time in my career trying to make records that would be popular or that would be edgy, or so much energy went into how to make them unique as opposed to how to make them good, you know. And I think the music that I'm drawn to is very honest and authentic. So, yeah, it can get awkward. I mean, there's a song on the new record called Clover that's about, you know, my struggle with, you know, alcohol and other stuff like that. And it's just weird to have an art form that, you know, I haven't talked about that with people that I'm very, very close to. And, you know, before my release show, you know, there's, you know, a couple hundred people out waiting, and we performed the record. And I had a moment there where I was like, many people that I know and love that probably arguably maybe should have had this conversation with are gonna know about it after they hear Clover, you know.
Right.
And what about songwriting makes us willing to write, arrange, record, publish a song that is so personal that you wouldn't even really have that conversation with people that you love very, very much. It's a weird paradox about songwriting, but I think it's also what I love about it is it is a form of expression. And for me, some of that hard stuff to write about was once I make it into a song, it becomes a place I can visit as opposed to a thing I have to carry around all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not always fun to play those songs. I don't love playing Clover so much. I have a song, Sackcloth and Ashes, same thing. That's kind of a big apology song, but it's cathartic for me to make those songs, and sometimes those are the good ones that resonate with people. I've gotten more people DM me since this record came out about Clover that it's totally worthwhile. I'll put up with that uncomfortable moment or that uncomfortable conversation if people are going to resonate with it like that. You know, sometimes it takes living it to say it well, and I think I don't think it's a responsibility of every songwriter, because I love many writers that can write totally fictional stuff, but for me, it's a place that I can put some of that stuff, and I'm grateful for it, really, more than anything.
As a listener, because I write. You've seen some poetry.
Sure.
I appreciate the honesty in the songwriting, because we've all been through a lot in the last couple of years, and I've had my own personal struggles that are not related to a pandemic. And what I've really realized, as much as I've been a music fan all my life, that music and songwriting reminds me that somebody else has been through what I've been through.
Yeah.
And they sang about it.
Yeah, and it becomes a place that you can visit too.
You don't feel as alone. You go like, oh, that person, that man or that woman who sang that song wrote that because they went through the same thing I'm going through, and I didn't know anybody else felt like this.
Sure.
So you've done that with that song. I'm sure that's why people are connecting with it.
Maybe
they're embarrassed as well.
Well, and that's there. A lot of those subjects are, maybe some people feel like certain people have a right to write about it or don't have a right to write about it. And I don't think I would tackle a song like that from a third person perspective, because it really is something that
Gotta own it.
Well, and I do. I don't have to apologize for that, because I every single word in that song is painstakingly true. And I can say that from personal experience. That took a lot of living to write that song, and I'm proud of it. I think
Cheers to you for kicking it. Seriously,
I appreciate that. It's an ongoing struggle for sure. I'm certain but I meant every word of that song, and I wouldn't have put it out if I didn't. That's for sure. I can say that honestly.
A songwriter that I'm a big fan of that you may or may not be familiar with, Stephen Kellogg, is very good at writing the family stories. He's got a song about every single one of his kids, and his wife makes tons of appearances in his songs. And just, you feel like you know the artist because they're telling you their stories and they're real. I mean, you meet him and you know he's talking about.
You do know the artist.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not on a personal level. He doesn't know you, but
he does.
That's one of the. There you go. Of course,
he's not from here, but I've been a bunch of times.
You're John Bommarito, so you have unprecedented access to a lot of those guys coming through. But yeah, that's one of the things I love the most about songwriting is, and it has made evident this last couple of weeks being down at Kerrville and having such a limited time to meet these writers. You sieve through a lot of the bullshit when you're starting by sharing that space that you create these songs from. You really do get to know somebody. You get to know, it's almost like you get to know their heart before you get to know their past, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I think if you're doing it the right way, I shouldn't say the right way. If you're doing it a certain way, and I hope that I'm doing it that way, it does let people in.
At the show I saw not so long ago at Trinity House with you, you covered James Taylor, which is something I would expect you to do. And Amy and you did a beautiful job on that.
Yeah.
Name a song that people would not expect you to cover that you think you'd actually do.
I used to do a killer cover of Take On Me.
Oh, yeah.
That was really fun. I've done those 3-4 hour gigs where you're playing other people's songs all the time. I do a lot of the covers that I play are I love playing Green Day songs in my style.
Yeah.
She screams in silence.
It's actually one of my favorite songs of theirs.
I think that
Keep the guitar in your lap.
I think that Billy Joe Armstrong is one of the greatest American songwriters in my opinion. And that, I mean, everything that guy does is so good. I'm also a big theater nerd too, and so American Idiot came out, it blew my mind. But like that was my first CD. My sister bought Dookie because it was the cool thing to buy. Sure. She was like a 7th grader, I was a 5th grader, and she hated it. So she gave it to me, and I was like, it absolutely blew my mind. And then, of course, my parents didn't like it, which made me like it 200 times more. And yeah, the Green Day was a big deal for me. But yeah, I love hip hop too. I mean, I love a lot of different kinds of music. You know, I don't listen to much of what I do while I'm writing a lot, which has been the last several years. I don't tend to spend a lot of time with other people's music because then I'll listen to like the record I make and be like, oh no, I was listening to a lot of Green Day during that or whatever it might be.
Well, Catch is the latest record, the one we're talking about, and we're going to have you do one more song, maybe a couple more questions after that. But
cool.
What song would you like to close with, musically speaking?
This song is called Honest, and we'll keep with the family theme. I wrote this one for my daughter, Annie, specifically, but it's kind of for all my girls, but I mentioned her.
Anne's Bonanza.
Anne's Bonanza, yeah, that's right.
I was paying attention.
Yeah. This is just kind of speaks to those moments where you start to see some tendencies in your kids that you definitely imparted upon them. Consciously or not, mostly just some of those characteristics maybe that they inherited from you that that I know has been a struggle my whole life, and then seeing it pop up in her and be like, oh no, she totally got that from me. But also shortly after the guilt and everything that floods you when you realize that you passed something like that along comes maybe I can help. I've been dealing with this forever. Let me tell you what I learned way too late. So that was where this one was born, and it's called Honest. It used to be called Anne's Bonanza, but I got talked out of calling it Anne's Bonanza on the record, so we still call it Anne's Bonanza. It'll be our inside joke. We thought we'd call you Gentle Annie. I learned the song and sang it in those first few days. Then I saw you pitching a fit and it sunk in quick. My new kid needed a new nickname. When you were startled, you'd start laughing. And I don't think that I could ever get enough of that game. Here I was a grown-ass man trying to scare the bananas out of my own beautiful babe. And then before I even knew it, you were growing up, girl, and the palm of your hand held the whole damn world. My only complaint with this whole dad thing's that you're growing up way too fast for me. Girl, we get that minivan jamming. Think we both trail off in the very same way. And I'm loving how you wail on the wall during your bedtime songs. You're lost and gone to some stage. But there's a fire inside you crackling. I'm hoping I can help teach you how to tend those flames before you let them burn the years like your dad did, dear. I've only got myself to blame. If there's a little bit of you, even a tiny bit bad, there's no doubt now it passed down from your dad. But the lion's share, there's this angel I see. I pray heaven lets a little rub off on me. I know my snuggling days are numbered, and I know you can cross without my hand, and I know your name by heart, darling. There's no forgetting my Anne's Bonanza, and
And I know darkness might find you, and I know that there's plenty in our blood. So you can ask anything you want to. I'll tell you about every hole I've dug. And I could say your future's bright as ever, but honey, between just you and me, most us fathers aren't the prophets we tend to pretend to be. So when that darkness finally finds you or boils up in your blood, just know that you come by it honest, and you can have my hand back if you want.
Great tune there called Honest. Kyle Rasche is here on Acoustic Alternatives, and it's from the latest album, Catch. And a couple of baseball analogies here, I guess, or at least connections. Would you sing the national anthem at a baseball game?
I used to do it all the time.
Oh.
That was one of the ways I tried to like get my name out in West Michigan when I first moved there.
Nice.
And I would do it at Whitecaps games and Grand Rapids Griffins, which is like the I think it's
Red Wings.
a AAA Red Wings affiliate there. And I had one time, I used to do it with my band. I had 3 singers, so I arranged it with guitar and 3 voices, and we got to be like the cancellation group, basically. If somebody canceled last minute, call Kyle.
Yeah.
Let's get in here. I need you, man. And I did it one time, and the band couldn't do it, and it was just me, and it was the first time I'd ever done it inside by myself at a hockey game. And I got up there, and like I had done it before, and there's something about being able to like hear the people next to you that makes it pretty just like singing in a room. But I got up there by myself, and I went and I, like the echo came back like a second and a half later, and I was not prepared for it. And I would love to hear a tape of that performance because it was a sold out like playoff game, and I was by myself, and I have no idea how I managed to get through that song with that coming back. It was so hard. I have PTSD from the national anthem the last time I did it. But
having done live radio where you're doing like a broadcast outside of the studio and somebody has the buttons pushed wrong and that happens in your headphones and you're trying to talk, you're like, oh my God, you just go, what?
Yeah, sometimes my phone will do that too, and it drives me
Yeah.
nuts. But when you're singing for 12,000 people, the stakes are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And it was
You had to go with it.
It was awful, but I'm proud of myself for getting through it. Who knows? I might have sang the first verse twice or something. I don't even remember.
So what's in the on deck circle for Kyle? I hear there's some extra songs from the record that didn't make it.
Yep, we're going in later this month on the 30th. We cut 4 that we had actually tracked. So whether or not those make it, I'm going to do another batch I think we're calling it the songs that didn't make the record.
Fair enough.
And then I have the kids record coming out, the Real Humdingers we're calling it. And it was funny, when I was down at Kerrville, I met have you ever heard of the band Trout Fishing in America?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are awesome. So I got to hang out with them a little bit, and they write the best kids songs. And I grew up loving Rafi and all those that children's music. So I'm gonna delve into that world a little bit with Josh Kaufman, who is the producer and owner of Local Legend Recording in Grand Rapids, which is just the best studio. I'm so proud to work with him. So yeah, we got that one coming up. We're working on artwork for that project right now. The songs that didn't make the record, and then I just wrote a musical last year with Charlie Walmsley and a woman named Patricia Thieler, who's a author out of Washington D.C. So I think we might start trying to like demo those songs as a review and see if we can try to get that produced. That's a play called Chevy Town, so that was kind of a dream for me to write for theater. That's like one of my favorite art forms. Is
Your high school self right there.
Right. I never got the parts though, man. I always got the part in the play that sang the most, that had the most singing responsibility, like harmony wise, that didn't have to act. So I was like baseball player number 3 in Damn Yankees. I was in the Cockney Quartet of My Fair Lady. I was on stage a lot, and I always had to dance and just sing the most without having to actually act. So I could see where the director was pigeonholing me, and I
play to your talents.
I can't act. I wish I could, man, because I absolutely love plays and musicals, and my wife, that's a big thing my wife and I bond over. We love to go into those things.
Well, I look forward to all of these future projects, and I'm excited about the new record, and I'm glad that we were able to, after months of saying, hey, you got to be on the podcast. It took us like 6 months to actually make it work, but you got to go to sound check.
I do. I get to play with Ken Yates tonight. I'm so excited, and you're welcome to come. I'd be happy to get you on the list.
Thanks.
So if you would like to come over to the Arc tonight, you're welcome. And thank you for all your support for not only me, but I mean everybody, everyone I talked to that I've said I'm doing this. Everyone in Southeast Michigan that knows I was talking to John Bommarito today knows of you and is equally as grateful for what you do for the people that do what I do. And
Thanks,
particularly with I mean, I can speak to my experience, but you have been just a pillar of support. And I remember being in California for a work trip and getting those texts about your poem and stuff. It was fun to work on that with you, and I don't know, it's cool to call you a friend, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Kyle. And thanks to Grove Studios. If you want to check out the space online, grovestudios.space is the website, and you can book space to practice your band, do a podcast like I do. If you're a DJ and you want to like scratch your CDs and stuff and make noise without disturbing your people in the apartment next to you, this is the place to do it. Very affordable, 24/7, really cool space, and I'm so grateful for them. Thank you, Kyle, and we'll see each other again soon, I hope.
I hope so. Thanks, John.
It's Acoustic Alternatives. Thanks a lot.